All right, so today we're diving deep into something I think we can all relate to, happiness.
Yeah, happiness. Who doesn't want to be happy?
Yeah, not just the surface level kind of,
Right.
we're going deeper, exploring the very nature of joy.
Mm.
And we're doing this all thanks to
Yeah.
this really interesting YouTube video about the Buddha's teachings.
It's kind of amazing how often we just throw around those words happiness and pleasure.
Yeah,
Like they're the same thing.
totally.
But the Buddha had some seriously insightful thoughts about the difference.
Yeah, so in this video, this villager
Mhm.
walks up to the Buddha, asks him this pretty straightforward question.
Okay.
What's happiness?
Mm-hmm.
And how is that different from all the fun stuff, all the pleasurable things we enjoy in life?
Right.
And the villager actually argues that pleasure is pretty easy to find. He's like, if you're hungry, you eat. Thirsty, drink some water.
Makes sense.
Easy peasy,
Yeah.
happiness achieved.
Right, right.
But the Buddha, being the wise dude he was,
Yeah,
uses this super clever analogy to kind of challenge that assumption.
he does.
So walk us through that.
Well, he focuses in on that thirst thing.
Okay.
And he asks the villager, he's like, hey, would you like some water?
Uh-huh.
And the villager, having just had some, says, I'm good for now.
Yeah.
But the Buddha offers him a whole container anyway.
Okay.
And after the villager drinks, the Buddha's like, how's the water taste?
Mhm.
Of course, villager's like, well, it tastes the same as before.
Yeah, like, duh, it's still water.
Right.
But the brilliance of this analogy is that it highlights how our perception
Yes.
changes based on our needs.
Yeah.
Like before running around,
Mm,
water is just water.
right.
But after, you're exhausted and thirsty, that same water
Yeah.
feels like this life-giving nectar.
Exactly. Exactly.
That
And it
is-
makes you think, right? Like, are we really seeking happiness?
Yeah.
Or are we just chasing these fleeting feelings
Yeah.
based on like what we're lacking in the moment?
Yeah.
You think about it. Have you ever like gotten that new gadget or achieved that goal
Oh, yeah.
and the satisfaction, it just fades so
I know.
quickly?
All the time, new phone, who does?
Right.
But okay, let's get to the really juicy stuff.
Okay.
The Buddha drops this kind of mind-blowing metaphor. Happiness is the shadow of joy.
Yeah.
Break that down for us, because at first glance, it just sounds like something you'd find on like a motivational poster.
It does, but think of it this way.
Okay.
Joy is the source, like the sun.
Okay.
It just is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Happiness is the shadow cast by joy. It's the fleeting shadow.
Okay.
It can't exist without the sun, but it's not the sun itself.
Okay.
It changes, it fades, it disappears.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on.
Okay, so I'm starting to see the light, pun intended.
Not intended.
True joy, this deeper thing.
Deeper, yeah.
It's not about what's happening around us, it's something inside.
Precisely.
And that kind of leads us to a really important question.
Yeah.
How often are we chasing those shadows?
Right.
The new car, the promotion, the perfect Instagram post.
The fleeting happiness.
Yeah, without actually nurturing the source of true joy within.
Without even realizing it.
Right. And how much time and energy are we wasting
Yeah.
in that pursuit?
Yeah. It's like we're on this hedonic treadmill,
Yes,
always striving, but never really arriving.
that's a perfect way to put it.
The Buddha talked about this as this cyclical nature of pleasure and pain.
Mhm.
He used this example of like hunger and eating.
Hmm.
We need to eat to survive, but constantly focusing on either the discomfort of hunger
Right.
or the pleasure of eating
Yeah.
creates its own kind of suffering.
So it's like we're swinging between these two extremes. I'm starving.
Yeah.
That was so delicious.
Yeah.
Never really finding this true sense of balance or contentment.
Right. And it connects to this idea that chasing pleasure
Mhm.
often leads to pain.
Yeah.
And avoiding pain can lead to like missed opportunities for pleasure.
Oh, interesting.
Indulge in that extra slice of cake.
Yeah.
You might feel guilty later.
Mm.
Avoid that difficult conversation.
Yeah.
The problem might just fester.
It's tricky.
It is tricky.
So how do we break free from this cycle? I mean, I like cake and avoiding difficult conversations as much as the next person,
Right.
but I also want to find that lasting sense of joy.
Well, that's where the villager's story takes an interesting turn.
Okay.
A year after his first chat with the Buddha, he goes back.
Okay.
But this time, he has a whole new perspective.
Because now he's realizing even the things that brought him joy,
Yeah.
like his family, his achievements, even those feelings eventually faded.
They did.
leaving him wanting something more.
War, yes.
Right.
And it's this realization that helps him grasp the idea of the world as a prison
Okay.
that we create for ourselves.
Ooh.
We cling to things, possessions,
Hmm.
our status, even our beliefs.
Yeah.
And that clinging creates suffering because we become dependent on them for our happiness.
Ouch. It's like we're building our own cells, brick by brick,
Brick by brick.
with our attachments.
Yeah.
So are we really free? Or are we just slaves to our desires?
That is the question that the Buddha wants us to ponder.
Okay.
He's not saying we should reject pleasure or happiness altogether,
Right.
but rather we need to see them for what they are,
Yeah.
fleeting shadows.
Okay.
The key is to cultivate the source of true joy
Within. And maybe that's where this whole stepping into the light of true joy thing comes in.
Right.
But what does that actually look like? Is it like walking around with a permanent grin even when your car breaks down?
Well, it's not about forcing a feeling.
Okay.
It's about cultivating an inner state of being.
Okay.
And that takes practice.
Okay, so less about fake smiles and more about inner peace.
Inner peace.
Even amidst the chaos of life. Got it. But how do we actually do that? What are the practical steps to get us there?
That's what we'll dive into next.
I'm ready to.
Right. Remember how the Buddha had the villager run those laps around the village?
Oh, yeah.
Like, it wasn't just a random fitness challenge. He
Yeah.
was using that to shift the villager's internal state.
Totally. After all those laps, the villager was definitely experiencing things a little bit differently.
For sure.
Exhausted, thirsty, maybe even a little grumpy.
Right.
It kind of took him out of his usual mental patterns.
Exactly.
And it was only after that experience, after his perception had shifted, that he could truly appreciate that simple cup of water.
Right.
He even calls it nectar.
Yeah, he's experiencing it from this place of real need.
Yeah.
Genuine thirst.
Wow, that's a brilliant parallel to cultivating joy.
Right.
It's like we have to create that inner thirst for it.
Yeah.
Space within ourselves where we can actually recognize it,
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah, and maybe we cultivate that inner thirst through experiences that challenge us,
Okay.
Like the villager pushing himself physically.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to step outside our comfort zones a little bit. Confront our fears, face difficulties head on.
So it's not about seeking out suffering,
Right.
but understanding that those tough experiences can actually help us understand joy on a deeper level.
Precisely.
Okay, it's like that saying, you can't appreciate the light until you've experienced the darkness.
Exactly.
Which brings us back to, you know how happiness is so fleeting, dependent on these external things?
Yeah.
Whereas joy, it seems like it's more internal. More resilient.
More resilient.
Even when things aren't going our way.
Yes, and that resilience is what the Buddha was pointing towards.
Okay.
The ability to experience joy,
Yeah.
even amidst difficulty.
But how do we actually develop that kind of unshakable joy?
Right.
The kind that doesn't depend on things always going perfectly.
That is the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
But I think the video hints at a few possible answers.
Okay.
Understanding our attachments seems to be a key factor.
Right, that whole idea of the world being a prison.
A prison.
We build ourselves.
Yeah, we cling to things, possessions, relationships, even our opinions.
Yeah.
And that clinging creates suffering
Right.
because it makes our happiness depend on those things.
And when those things change,
Yeah.
as they inevitably do,
As they always do.
we experience pain, disappointment.
Disappointment, yeah.
So the key might be learning to let go of that clinging.
Letting go.
Finding a sense of contentment that's not dependent on external conditions.
Right.
Easier said than done, right?
For sure.
I mean, we're wired for connection.
Yeah.
We're social creatures.
We are.
We thrive on these relationships.
Absolutely, but maybe it's not about eradicating attachment altogether, but rather transforming it
Transforming it.
instead of grasping and clinging. Maybe it's about finding a way to relate to things with more openness, acceptance.
So like appreciating the beauty of a flower without needing to own it
own it.
or keep it from wilting.
Exactly.
Wow.
And this is where practices like mindfulness and meditation come in. They can help us cultivate that non-judgmental awareness.
Okay.
The ability to just observe our thoughts and feelings without being swept away by them.
So instead of always chasing happiness, we're learning to just be present.
Be present.
with what is
Yes.
experiencing the full range of human emotion,
The full range.
both the good and the bad.
And by allowing ourselves to fully experience the present moment
Yeah.
without clinging or aversion, maybe that's how we tap into that wellspring of joy
Okay.
that's within us all.
You know, this whole conversation is reminding me of the Buddhist discussion about hunger and food
Yes.
being, necessities of life.
Yes. The idea that both pleasure and pain
Right.
are just inherent parts of being human.
Yeah. What struck me was how it's not the hunger or the food itself that causes suffering.
Right.
It's our attachment to them.
It is, yeah.
We crave food when we're hungry,
Yeah.
and then we resist that hunger when we're trying to eat mindfully.
It's that clinging to a specific outcome,
Right.
that resistance to what is, that really fuels the cycle.
So when we apply this to our pursuit of happiness, it seems like the problem isn't happiness itself.
Right.
It's our attachment to the idea
The idea.
that we need to be happy
Yes.
all the time.
All the time. And that attachment
Yeah.
leads us to constantly chase these fleeting experiences, never truly finding contentment because we're so focused on what we're lacking.
It's like we're always looking for that next thing
The next thing.
to make us happy,
Yeah, always searching for something outside of ourselves.
instead of recognizing the potential for joy that's already within us.
Exactly. Maybe if we shifted our focus
Okay.
from chasing happiness to cultivating joy, we could break free from that cycle of craving and aversion.
That's a powerful thought.
It is.
But it makes me wonder if true joy isn't dependent on external circumstances.
Yeah.
Does that mean we're supposed to be walking around in a constant state of bliss,
Right.
even when life throws us curveballs?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it highlights a common misconception about joy.
Okay.
It's not about feeling ecstatic all the time.
Right.
True joy is much more subtle than that.
So it's not about denying our difficult emotions,
No.
but rather cultivating a sense of peace and contentment
Peace and contentment.
that can coexist
Yeah.
with the full spectrum of human experiences.
You got it. It's like that analogy of the wheel of pleasure and pain.
Okay.
We're always going to experience both,
Yeah.
but we don't have to be controlled by them. Joy is like that stable axle,
Okay.
allowing us to ride the waves
Yeah.
without getting swept away.
That's such a good analogy.
It is a good one.
This brings us back to that point the Buddha made about the world being a prison we create for ourselves.
Right.
We're trapped by our attachments,
Attachments.
desires,
Yeah.
clinging to these illusions.
But imagine if cultivating joy is like finding the key
Okay.
to unlock that prison door.
What a powerful image.
Right.
When we're free from that constant pursuit of happiness,
Yeah.
when we're no longer defined by our attachments,
Yeah.
a whole new way of being in the world opens up.
It does.
It's like we're no longer just reacting to life.
Reacting.
We're actively creating
it.
from a place of joy.
From a place of joy, exactly.
And maybe that's what the Buddha meant when he talked about escaping the cycle of suffering.
Maybe
It's not about eliminating pain or difficulty.
it's about transforming our relationship to it.
We realize that while suffering is a part of life,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't have to define us.
It doesn't.
We always have a choice.
Always a choice.
We can respond to these challenges with wisdom,
What?
compassion, and yes.
Yes. Even joy.
Beautifully said. It strikes me that we often talk about joy as something we experience individually.
Yeah.
But what about the collective?
Oh, interesting.
What if we considered the possibility of collective joy,
Okay.
a shared experience
Yeah.
that connects us
Mm-hmm.
beyond our differences?
That's a fascinating thought. If individual joy
Yeah.
can transform our inner world,
Right.
could collective joy transform our outer world?
Our outer world, what would a society
Yeah.
grounded in joy,
What would that look like?
would we approach challenges like poverty,
we
conflict,
change
climate change
differently?
differently? Would our systems and institutions
Yeah.
reflect a deeper care for each other
Yeah.
and the planet?
Those are powerful questions to ponder.
They are,
And I think exploring these possibilities is essential.
essentially.
If we truly want to create a world where joy,
Isn't just a fleeting emotion,
right,
but like a foundational principle.
foundational principle, remember the villager in the video?
Yeah.
He didn't just keep his newfound understanding to himself.
Right.
He shared it with others, creating this ripple effect of joy.
So what's the one nugget of wisdom
Okay.
that we want to leave our listeners with today?
The journey to cultivating true joy is a deeply personal one.
Yeah.
There's no right or wrong way to do it.
Okay.
Be curious, experiment, and find what resonates with you.
And remember, it's not about achieving some perfect state of bliss.
No.
It's about embracing life's messy, beautiful, ever-changing nature
Yes.
with an open heart and a willingness to find the joy in every moment.
Every moment.
So we've explored this inner world of joy.
Yeah.
But how does this all translate into our everyday lives?
Right.
I mean, it's great to talk about inner peace and resilience, but what does that actually look like in practice?
Yeah, it's a great question, and
Right.
and one that's worth exploring. What if, instead of chasing those fleeting moments of happiness,
Yeah.
we approach life with this underlying current of joy?
I love that image.
Yeah.
An underlying current.
An underlying current.
It's like this steady flow of energy.
Yeah.
Always there, even when we're caught up in the whirlwind of daily life.
Exactly. And imagine how that might change how we connect with others. Instead of looking for validation or approval outside of ourselves, we'd be radiating joy from within.
So it's not about forcing joy on others,
Right.
but letting our own inner light shine.
Yeah.
And maybe that attracts people who vibe with that energy.
You got it. And, that kind of authentic joy,
Yeah,
it's contagious.
it is.
It ripples outwards, touching everyone we encounter.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the grumpy cashier at the grocery store.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe a genuine smile
Mm-hmm.
and a kind word from someone who's radiating joy.
Yeah.
Just shift their whole day.
It's like that saying, be the change you wish to see in the world.
Yes.
But with joy as the driving force.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's talk about how this impacts our creativity, problem-solving skills.
Yeah. If we're coming from a place of joy
Yeah.
rather than fear or frustration,
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't that open up new possibilities, new ways of thinking?
It makes sense when we're bogged down by negativity.
Yeah.
It's like we're wearing blinders.
Yeah.
But when we're feeling joyful,
Yeah.
it's like our minds become more expansive,
More expansive, more flexible.
more flexible. We're more likely to embrace new ideas,
Yeah.
to see solutions
Mhm.
instead of roadblocks.
Right.
We tap into this boundless source of creative energy.
It's powerful stuff. Imagine tackling that work project
Oh.
that's been stressing you out,
Mm-hmm.
but instead of dreading it,
Yeah.
you approach it with this sense of playfulness,
Okay.
curiosity. Who knows what brilliant solutions might emerge?
That's a game changer.
Right.
And what about resilience?
Resilience, yeah.
If we're not so attached to things going a certain way,
Yeah.
wouldn't we be better equipped to
Yeah.
deal with
Yeah.
setbacks,
Yeah.
disappointments?
Absolutely. True joy isn't about pretending everything's perfect.
Right.
Or avoiding challenges.
Yeah.
It's about developing that inner strength
Mm.
that helps us navigate life's ups and downs with grace and composure.
Grace and composure. I love that.
Remember the Buddha talked about
Yeah.
how clinging to the idea of permanence
Okay.
is a source of suffering.
Right?
When we cultivate joy,
Mhm.
we become more accepting of
Right.
the ever-changing nature of reality.
So it's not about becoming some like emotionless robot,
Right.
but finding a way to experience the full range of human emotions
Yeah.
without losing our sense of peace and centeredness.
Yes, it's like that analogy of the wheel of pleasure and pain. We're always going to experience both, but we don't have to be controlled by them.
Okay.
Joy is like that stable axle,
Yeah.
allowing us to ride the waves
Yeah, okay.
without getting swept away.
It all comes back to the wave.
It does.
This brings us back to that point the Buddha made about the world being a prison.
Yes.
We create for ourselves.
We're trapped by our attachments, desires, clinging to illusions.
Yeah, but imagine if cultivating joy is like finding the key
Yeah.
to unlock that prison door.
What a powerful image.
When we're free from that constant pursuit of happiness,
Mm-hmm.
when we're no longer defined by our attachments,
Right.
a whole new way of being in the world opens up.
It does.
It's like we're no longer just reacting to life,
Yeah.
but actively creating it
Creating it
from a place of joy.
from a place of joy. Exactly.
And maybe that's what the Buddha meant when he talked about escaping the cycle of suffering.
Maybe so.
It's not about eliminating pain or difficulty. It's about transforming our relationship to them. we realize that while suffering is a part of life,
It is.
it doesn't have to define us.
Doesn't have to define us.
We always have a choice.
We do.
We can respond to these challenges with wisdom,
Wisdom.
compassion, and yes, even joy.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.
You know, it strikes me that we often talk about joy as something we experience individually,
Yeah.
but what about the collective?
Oh, interesting.
What if we considered the possibility
Right.
of collective joy,
Right.
a shared experience
Yeah.
that connects us beyond our differences?
That's a fascinating thought. If individual joy can transform our inner world,
Yeah.
could collective joy transform our outer world?
Our outer world, what would a society grounded in joy look like?
Yeah. What would that look like?
Would we approach challenges like poverty,
Yeah.
conflict, climate change
Change
differently?
Yeah.
Would our systems and institutions reflect a deeper care for each other and the planet?
Those are powerful questions
They are
to ponder.
powerful questions.
And I think exploring these possibilities is essential.
Essential.
If we want to create a world where joy isn't just a fleeting emotion,
Right.
but a foundational principle.
A foundational principle. Remember the villager in the video?
Yeah.
He didn't just keep his newfound understanding to himself.
Right.
He shared it with others,
He did.
creating a ripple effect of joy.
It's beautiful.
It is.
So what's the one nugget of wisdom we want to leave our listeners with today?
The journey to cultivating true joy is a deeply personal one.
Okay.
There's no right or wrong way to do it.
Yeah.
Be curious, experiment, and find what resonates with you.
Beautiful. And remember, it's not about achieving some perfect state of bliss.
No.
It's about embracing life's messy, beautiful,
Beautiful.
ever-changing nature
Yes.
with an open heart and a willingness to find the joy in every moment.
In every moment.
Well, on that note, I think it's time for us to step back into the world
Yeah.
armed with these insights,
Yes.
ready to share the light of joy with everyone we meet.
Until next time.
Till next time, fellow deep divers, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep cultivating the joy within you.